The internet promised us connection, information, a window into the world, and it delivered. But for many of us, especially men, it also opened another window. A very specific kind of window. Pornography, a digital landscape that receives tens of billions of visits to its largest sites every year. And for many, it becomes their first, sometimes only education in sex, intimacy, and even relationships. Imagine that landscape as a young gay man, and often what you find is a very narrow, very prescriptive version of desire. Bodies that look the same. Stories that follow the same predictable beats. We're taught what sex should look like, what pleasure should be.
We're creating porn in a way that's very intentional.
Today, I sat down with Davey Wavey, a content creator who's been a fixture in queer online media for nearly 2 decades. From personal vlogs to challenging YouTube's policies on sexuality, Davey has carved out new spaces for exploring sexuality online. We're diving into one of his latest projects.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Manchineel Resort.
The Manchineel King, an erotic film series inspired by the White Lotus.
Lightning never strikes the same place twice. It's a lie. So, how about round 2?
So, I initially reached out because my friend Allison and I run another channel called Queer Cinema Catch-Up, and after we reviewed season 3 of The White Lotus, I saw your series, The Manchineel King, which pulls from and is in direct conversation with that show. So, to start, can you tell us a bit about the series and how you approached releasing it?
Yeah. So the whole series came out first on Himeros.tv, and we did that because those are the paying members, the people that made this all possible. It was really expensive for us to film this. Our budget for the 5 episodes, and I know this is going to sound comically low for kind of traditional mainstream film. It was $120,000.
Okay. For
the world of gay porn, it was a pretty large undertaking. We had to film the entire thing over the course of 8 days at this villa that we rented in Spain.
The production value in the cast you assembled, the location, the cinematography, it really shows.
Thank you. Yeah. When you watch it, it's okay, this is not the White Lotus, but it is beautiful and and there is artistry and it looks more expensive than it was.
Yeah. So what about the White Lotus made you want to draw those parallels and explore such similar themes in your own work?
Yeah. Also, I want to go on record by saying that this was all filmed and written way before season 3 of White Lotus came out.
No way. I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
They were released so close together.
Perhaps it's not that shocking, seeing as The White Lotus is written by Mike White, who obviously is a gay man, but that there's overlapping themes of there's a big incest plot in both series. The Poisonous Tree, I think, is a little bit more surprising. The Manchineel tree, it has this beautiful apple-like fruit. The leaves are really gorgeous. It's very seductive, but it's often considered the most poisonous tree on earth.
The Spanish would sometimes call it the manzanita de la muerte, the little apple of death.
If you eat the fruit, you'll die. Even if you stand underneath the tree, when it rains, it will burn your skin. So the idea was beautiful on the outside, toxic on the inside. Some of us may have met people like that in our lives.
Yeah.
That's what we were playing on.
Yeah, and that makes me think of the character Caleb in your series. He seems like the perfect example of that conflict because he's an enlightened spiritual guru, but he's also terrified of aging.
I just don't see myself as an older man.
I mean, where did that character come from for you?
Right. I mean, this is an arc. I mean, this is almost a trope at this point. The guru who has great wisdom, great advice, but a complete inability to turn inward. And in fact, all these characters are inspired by just real interactions that I have had over the years. And I remember 8-9 years ago being at a YouTube conference, and I was sitting with this YouTuber older than me and who uses their channel to really espouse wisdom.
Okay.
And he was talking about the Botox and the facelift and the work that he's doing on himself. And I'm thinking wow, this really seems in conflict to what you present. Mm-hmm. We all do these mental gymnastics to justify the decisions that we make that are in conflict with our values. And to me, it's a lot more interesting when someone says, yeah, I do this and it's not congruent with what I believe. For me, that was probably the most fun character to write.
And with Luca and Sammy over the crystals, what was the inspiration for writing that scene?
Okay, well, this is very much inspired by Mike White because if you remember in season too, when they're talking about The Godfather. They present both sides of this argument.
Men love The Godfather because they feel emasculated by modern society. It's a fantasy about a time when they could go out and solve all their problems with violence, sleep with every woman, and then come home to their wife who doesn't ask them any questions and makes them hostile.
Hey. It's a normal male fantasy.
No, movies like that socialize men into having that fantasy.
Movies like that exist because men already do have that fantasy. We're hardwired.
Comes with the testosterone.
No, gender is a construct. It's created.
You spend all that money on Stanford, he comes back brainwashed.
They're articulate. It's presented with care. There isn't a clear winner in it. I remember when I watched that scene, I was like, how did Mike White make two compelling arguments in the opposite way, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's brilliant. Like, this man's a genius. And so when I was writing these scenes, I was trying to channel, like, even if I get 10% of that I personally, I'm very skeptical. Like, I don't believe in crystals. And yet I was trying to put myself in the shoes of Sammy's character, Rowan, who does believe in crystals. And I remember having a conversation on set with one of the sex coaches that we worked with. And he was saying something about, like, I mean, this was like during the time of COVID, and he was saying how he's like using crystals to help keep himself healthy. And I was like really triggered by it in the same way that Luca's character is. And he made an argument, which is, look, if you make an intention, maybe your intention is to have financial abundance, and you get the stone because it represents that. And you put that stone on your desk. Every time you see that stone, you're reminded of your intention, and you will make choices that are in alignment with financial abundance. Maybe as you're shopping on Amazon, you see that stone and you're like, you know what? I actually don't need this shit. Like, I'm going to make better purchase decisions.
Yeah.
And therefore the magic is in you. It's in yourself. And the stone's just a reminder of that. And I thought that was like probably the best way to make that argument to Luca.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And as someone who doesn't believe in crystals or astrology, I can connect to it in that way.
Right. Like, astrology, like, is it bullshit? I mean, in my opinion, yes, but also it provides a meaningful framework for people to process their lives and the world. And I also can't, poo-poo that because that's real for people.
It's not magic, but it's a powerful psychological tool.
Yeah, totally. It's fun to kind of play with that, the different perspectives there.
Mm-hmm. So I also wanted to talk about the father-son relationship in the series, which is, a pretty provocative dynamic.
Tell me you're the plug, not the outlet.
What?
You're the one who goes in?
Oh my God. Dad, you're literally disgusting.
Did you include it because it's just a popular porn genre, or were you aiming for something deeper about the gay experience itself?
Yeah, and this was also a dynamic that was inspired by real life. I think there's a lot of gay men who I think because their fathers pulled away or weren't super present in their lives, they're really thirsty and hungry for the attention, and maybe more than attention, the affirmation of older men. Mm-hmm. I say this as a 41-year-old whose boyfriend is 21. This is playing out in my own real life. And I think that there's an irony in it, that this father who wants nothing more than for his son to be straight, by pulling back, is essentially pushing his son into the arms of older men.
Right.
It's kind of doing the opposite thing he's hoping it will do. Mm-hmm. And the trope of the internalized homophobia. I mean, this is I think is an experience that rings true for many gay men, that often the people who bully us, the people who give us the hardest time in life, later it's revealed that they themselves are gay. Because who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
You know who cares? Someone that hates this in themselves.
Someone questioning their own identity. Yeah.
Of course.
That's a really interesting aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. Homophobia is the gayest thing. Like,
it is so gay.
It's so gay. It's so gay.
This was clearly a passion project. And what did pouring so much of yourself into something like this do for you personally?
It ended up being like very unexpectedly healing to like not just write this all down, but like hand it over to people who interpreted these characters with care and love, and then really gave these beautiful, vulnerable performances, and then sharing it with the world. It was like a way to process some of my own like trauma and baggage.
Yeah. Well, it's incredible how you are able to explore these gay-specific experiences. And the fact that you're aware of it at an emotional level, how would you label something like this? Do you label it pornography or something else?
Yeah, it's this is like an ongoing conversation. I don't have a clear answer to it. Like, one of the directors we work with, his name is Ed. He's part of this team called Alt Shift. For him, it's really important to use the word porn because he feels like we need to use that word to expand the possibilities of what porn can be, that it can be deeper. And then other people, I think, would have a perspective of like, it comes down to your intention with the film. If your intention is just to get someone off, which is fine, like that's probably porn. If your intention is something beyond that, and of course I hope, you know, people get off to the films that we create for Himrose TV, but the intention is also to educate people, to maybe bring in a different perspective, to challenge some of the misconceptions that they have around sex. So it has like a deeper layer to it, but yeah, I kind of use it all interchangeably. And I love like when I'm on an airplane or like in the checkout line at the supermarket and someone's like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh yeah, I make gay porn. And just to like,
Yeah, I'm sure the reactions were great.
Oh, it's great. For me, what has always felt disingenuous in cinema, even HBO, which I think like pushes the envelope in some ways. Like we all saw that with The White Lotus season 3 with the brothers and the hand job moment, that a lot of the most potent experiences in our lives, a lot of our evolution, a lot of our growth, a lot of the epiphanies we have happen in moments of eroticism. And so it's always felt disingenuous to me that in film, as soon as things start to get spicy, the camera pans off to the fireplace. As a viewer, you almost feel robbed of the full experience. When we do a film shoot, we're creating porn in a way that's very intentional. It's kind of like grass-fed porn or like organic porn. And as like conscious consumers, people want to know what they're putting into themselves as something good, right? You want to know that your carrot is organic. Well, like you also consume with your eyes and with your mind. And if you're watching, you know, no shade to men.com or Sean Cody, but like that is a very specific flavor of porn to be consuming over and over again. And it will condition you to think that like, unless you have a six pack, you know, unless you're 28 years old, unless you have, you know, a giant dick, then you're not worthy of touch and connection and desire and pleasure. And that, by the way, when you have sex, it needs to follow this formula of like kissing and sucking and so on and so on. And that every sexual experience ends in an ejaculation. And, oh, by the way, no one ever asks for a glass of water in the middle of sex because they become thirsty. Like, no one ever has a difficult time getting hard. No one ever says, hey, you're going too fast. Like, that doesn't feel good to me. Like, here's what would feel better. It'd be the most taboo thing in the world if someone asked for a glass of water in the middle of a scene. Well, guess what? People get thirsty in sex. And it's nice to normalize that in a scene and, like, keep that moment in. Or when they, like, get into an awkward position that doesn't work and they have to, like, find something different. Like, that's real sex. Yeah. So it's nice to film that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sex can be awkward. It can be messy.
Totally. Yeah. We filmed the scene that we called Sex in the Shitty, where the setup was basically that one of the models like kind of gets messy in the middle of anal sex. Like that sometimes happens with gay men. It didn't actually happen in the scene, but we kind of just like planted that prompt. This is a situation that's going to happen to every gay man that engages in anal sex. How can you navigate that situation with grace and keeping the sexual energy alive? And like, so they move to the shower and then they just continue in a different way, and how you can have compassion for your partner. So modeling healthy communication between partners. And I think, at least I know when I was young and maybe before we started filming content for Himrose, I would, in having sex, just expect my partner to know what it was that I wanted, and then be disappointed when they didn't read my mind. And it's like, actually, like, first of all, you have to know what you want, and that's hard. And then you have to have the vocabulary to communicate what you want to your partner. That's difficult. It requires vulnerability. And you have to deal with the possibility of your partner saying, I'm not willing to give you that. You have to be able to deal with the rejection. And so all of these are skills that are not innately known to us. They're not taught in sex education at school. Obviously, our parents aren't going to teach us that, especially through like a queer lens. And, you know, unless you have a really attuned lover, like you're probably not going to have someone sit down and like give you a sex 101.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of, no pun intended, but fill that void, I guess.
Learning how to communicate during sex, definitely important.
Yeah.
And it's rare to see that modeled in a healthy or realistic way in porn.
Yeah.
So in thinking of your career, I mean, I remember watching your videos very early on. And did you realize that posting to YouTube meant you would be revealing yourself in a way that was more unique and more organic than what was usually representative of gay people on TV?
I started my YouTube channel, I think in 2007. And at the time, it was when YouTube first launched.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it'd be interesting to record videos as kind of a online journal that, not for other people, like, but just for myself to look back on in 20, 30 years, see where I was, what was important to me, see some of the friends in my life. And it didn't occur to me that people would follow along on that journey. But very quickly, I think because I was one of the first people on the platform and because I had my tits out all the time, people, for whatever reasons, you know, clicked subscribe. And at first I was really put off by it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I didn't invite these people. And they were commenting. I'm like, I didn't invite these people into my space. I actually initially like turned comments off on my channel. Then I realized I was working for a nonprofit at the time for gay and lesbian families. And I quickly was reaching more people through my YouTube channel than we were through the advocacy work that we were doing. And I remember thinking like, gosh, like at the very least, there's an opportunity to do something here with this audience. Maybe even a responsibility to do something. And I know it's hard for us in 2025 to think back to like 2027 or 2007, 2008, but like it was a different climate. This is like almost a decade before marriage equality. Mm-hmm. And I like the last thing we need in 2025 is another like, you know, white gay guy like talking about coming out and like taking up space. But at the time, like that conversation hadn't really started yet. And so it became a space to talk about how to come out to your family, how to navigate being gay at school, talking about bullying. And at the time in my early 20s, that's what was really kind of alive and interesting for me. Over the years, as I got older and the things that were interesting to me evolved, I started talking more about sex, pleasure, you know, intimacy, consent. And as I talked more about those things, I kept kind of coming against increasingly restrictive like walls on or policies, I guess, on YouTube. Mm-hmm. There's only so much you can say and do. And those policies kind of continue to move in the direction of The Handmaid's Tale, like basically. Like I can, on my channel, it would be much easier for me to show someone like getting, you know, shot in the chest than it would be to have a nipple being pleasured, right? Like that's far more taboo.
I mean, Texas passed a law to force people to verify their age on porn sites, and YouTube is becoming more aggressive using AI to force people to age verify themselves.
Totally. And if I encourage your listeners to like pull up the community guideline policies on YouTube, it's like, it's really hysterical. Like a lot of it comes down to intent. And so like, if the intent in the scene is to arouse the viewer, then it's not allowed on YouTube. But you can intend to scare someone. You can intend to misinform someone. You can intend to horrify them. You can intend to whatever. That's all fine. But God forbid you intend to arouse them.
Yeah.
Like that's where the line is.
Deliberately misinforming someone is infinitely more harmful than arousing them. It's not even a question.
Yeah, and of course this all comes down to sponsorships, right? That like Coca-Cola and, you know, Kraft, whatever, like Heinz ketchup, like they don't want their ads running against content that is considered objectionable in that way. And so YouTube has made the strategic decision, owned by Google, that for the sake of advertisers and money, that it's more important for them to bow down to, you know, the people who are allocating ad spends than it is to support the communities that created the platform. It's unfortunate. It's also corporate America. Like, there would be no other outcome. Yeah. Like, there is no world in which Google says, oh, this is more important than money.
Yeah, it used to be fun, creative, and weird. And it's great that you have a way to not have to appeal to those standards with something like Himeros.
I mean, and that became, at a certain point, you're right, though. Like, the internet used to be fun.
Yeah, I miss it.
And I feel bad for people that are growing up today that like never knew the fun internet.
Yeah.
But like, it used to be fun. And not even that long ago, like 10 years ago, it used to be fun. Now it's like a cesspool. It's like the worst of humanity. How far it's fallen. But you're right, though. It became necessary it was like, look, if this is the content that I want to make, like I'm always going to be at the whims of YouTube unless I own my own platform. And also at some point, like YouTube could delete my channel. I mean, like it's, you just, I saw my ad revenue drop like 99% over the course of like a decade as, you know, my content got demonetized. And I could do video sponsorships, working with different brands, pharmaceuticals, sex toy companies, but like there's only so many brands that are excited about working with like sex related content. So largely for a financial reason and a creative reason, let me launch Himeros TV and just go all in and make the content that I want to make. And it will be nude, it will be explicit. And if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to work in the space of porn, there's obviously no shortage of porn on the internet. I want to create content that is doing something different that's not currently represented. And that meant creating like erotic content that was constructive to one's experience of sex. I think a lot of porn, when we watch it, it follows the same formula. It conditions us to have certain expectations about what sex should look like, what our bodies should look like, what pleasure should look like. Those kind of perspectives that traditional porn holds up are not necessarily healthy or true. So it became really fun to kind of flip a lot of that on its head and create erotic content that features people that you don't usually see in porn, people of different ages, show people what like real pleasure, real connection can look like. And so that's been like a really fun sandbox to play in for the last 8 years.
So have you thought about what's next for you? Is there a season 2 of the series?
Yeah. I was thinking I don't think I'm going to do a second season. It was more a story that was like in my heart that needed to come out. I don't know that there's a season 2. If there is, I think it would be a couples, kind of like a swingers resort.
Okay.
And so there'd be like different couples and different stages of openness, you know, that would go to the resort, like a couple that's very open, but then they get to the resort and they're very challenged by their openness and like have to reconsider it. And then a couple that's maybe just testing the waters of openness. And, you know, there's a lot you could kind of play with there. I think if there was a season 2, it might look like that. But I just got back from a project that we filmed in Italy, really fun, but also really intense. And I'm just like, okay, I just want to stay put for a little bit. And right after the Manchineel King, which filmed in December.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I'm just done for a little bit. I just need a minute.
Yeah, it sounds cute. Take a break for a while. Do you have any highlights of the early days on YouTube? Like I saw you did an interview with Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah, that was a standout moment, especially because I was so nervous and he was doing kind of like a press circuit and I was the last person to interview him. And he was like, you know, tired and like pretty cranky and like didn't know who I was. And like, you know, he's being interviewed by like BBC and all this. And then all of a sudden I show up, you know, in my tank top and like a tripod. And he's like, what the fuck is this? Like, who are you? And I was so nervous I forgot to like even focus my camera. The whole view was like completely blurry. And at the end of it, he's like, who's going to see this? Like, you're just going to put it on the internet and like hope that people watch it. And I was like, well, I have a YouTube channel with like over 1 million subscribers, mostly gay men. And suddenly he was like, oh, because that is something he's interested in. And that was a really fun moment.
Who would have thought all those early videos would have led to such a career?
Definitely not me. It wasn't even an option. Like, because if you remember back, like there was like you couldn't make money doing this or have this be a career path, and so you had to do it because you loved it. Now, of course, like people go start a YouTube channel with the intention of becoming a YouTuber or, you know, making all this money and buying a Ferrari and, you know, filming themselves crashing it into like whatever. And it's just such a different cup of tea now.
Yeah, now it's all about pleasing the algorithm.
Right. You have to play the algorithm. Yeah. I remember I had a meeting with YouTube. They used to be much more hands-on with like helping you guide your channel and giving you advice. And they had someone that was like interpreting the data on the back end of my channel, and like they could see retention. And anyway, his advice to me was that I needed to cut out the moments where I was breathing because people were clicking on other stuff. So like... He's like, yeah, edit out your breaths.
Edit out, or just don't breathe during the video.
Yeah, he was like, don't breathe, and so when you watch my content after that, it was like, and I was like, oh my god, we live in a world where you can't even, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, David, thank you so much for your time and for sharing these stories and for getting your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks for chatting with me. It was really fun.
So that was my conversation with Davey Wavey. And we started out talking about a film series, but it ended up being about so much more. Censorship, what's authentic, and really what the soul of the internet is now. In our push to make the internet safer, are we accidentally making it less honest? Let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.